sisters. And indeed, 2 of them were asked for by the Carmel of Saigon, our own foundation. For a time there was serious question of their being sent, and I would not say a word to hold them back, though my heart ached at the thought of the trials awaiting them. Now all that is at an end. The superiors were absolutely opposed to their departure, and I only touched the cup with my lips long enough to taste of its bitterness. Let me tell you, dear Mother, why, if Our Lady cures me, I wish to respond to the call from our mothers of Hanoi. It appears that, to live in foreign Carmels, a very special vocation is needed, and many souls think they are called without being so in reality. You have told me that I have this vocation, and that my health alone stands in the way. But if I am destined one day to leave this Carmel, it will not be without a pang. My heart is naturally sensitive, and because this is a cause of much suffering, I wish to offer Jesus whatsoever it can bear. Here, I am loved by you and all the sisters, and this love is very sweet to me, and I dream of a convent where I should be unknown, where I should taste the bitterness of exile. I know only too well how useless I am, and so it is not for the sake of the services I might render to the Carmel of Hanoi, that I would leave all that is dearest to me. My sole reason would be to do God's will, and sacrifice myself for Him. And I should not suffer any disappointment, for when we expect nothing but suffering, then the least joy is a surprise, and later on suffering itself becomes the greatest of all joys, when we seek it as a precious treasure. But I know I shall never recover from this sickness, and yet I am at peace. For years I have not belonged to myself. I have surrendered myself wholly to Jesus, and He is free to do with me whatsoever He pleases. He has spoken to me of exile, and has asked me if I would consent to drink of that chalice. At once I essayed to grasp it, but He, withdrawing His hand, showed me that my consent was all He desired. O my God, from how much disquiet do we free ourselves by the vow of obedience! Happy is the simple religious, her one guide being the will of her superiors. She is ever sure of following the right path, and has no fear of being mistaken, even when it seems that her superiors are making a mistake. But if she ceases to consult the unerring compass, then at once her soul goes astray in barren wastes, where the waters of grace quickly fail. Dear Mother, you are the compass Jesus has given me to direct me safely to the eternal shore. I find it most sweet to fix my eyes upon you, and then do the will of my Lord. By allowing me to suffer these temptations against faith, He has greatly increased the spirit of faith, which makes me see Him living in your soul, and through you communicating His holy commands. I am well aware that you lighten the burden of obedience for me, but deep in my heart I feel that my attitude would not change, nor would my filial affection grow less, were you to treat me with severity, and this because I should still see the will of God manifesting itself in another way for the greater good of my soul. Among the numberless graces that I have received this year, not the least of which is an understanding of how far-reaching is the precept of charity. I had never before fathomed these words of our Lord. The second commandment is like the first, Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Matthew 22, verse 39. I had set myself above all to love God, and it was in loving Him that I discovered the hidden meaning of these other words. It is not those who say, Lord, Lord, who enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he who does the will of my Father. Footnote: cross-reference Matthew 7, verse 21. End footnote. Jesus revealed me this will when at the Last Supper He gave His new commandment in telling His apostles to love one another as He had loved them. Footnote: cross-reference John 13, verse 34. End footnote. I set myself to find out how He had loved His apostles, and I saw that it was not for their natural qualities, for they were ignorant men, full of earthly ideas, and yet He calls them His friends, His brethren. He desires to see them near Him in the kingdom of His Father, and in order to admit them to this kingdom, He wills to die on the cross, saying, Greater love than this no man hath, that a man lay down his life for his friends. John 15, verse 12. As I meditated on these divine words, I saw how imperfect was the love I bore my sisters in religion. I understood that I did not love them as our Lord loves them. I know now that true charity consists in bearing all our neighbors' defects, not being surprised at their weakness, but edified at their smallest virtues. Above all, I know that charity must not remain shut up in the heart, 4. No man lighteth a candle, and putteth it in a hidden place, nor under a bushel, but upon a candlestick, that they who came in may see the light. Luke 11:33. It seems to me, dear Mother, this candle represents that charity which enlightens and gladdens, not only those who are dear to us, but all those who are of the household. In the Old Law, when God told His people to love their neighbor as themselves, He had not yet come down upon earth, and knowing full well how man loves himself, He could not ask anything greater. But when our Lord gave His apostles a new commandment, His own commandment, John 15:12, He was not content with saying, "Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself," but would have them love even as He had loved, and as He will love till the end of time. O my Jesus! Thou dost never ask what is impossible. Thou knowest better than I, how frail and imperfect I am, and Thou knowest that I shall never love my sisters as Thou hast loved them, unless within me Thou lovest them, dear Lord. It is because Thou dost desire to grant me this grace, that Thou hast given a new commandment. Oh, how I love it! Since I am assured thereby, that it is Thy will to love in me all those Thou dost bid me love. Yes, I know when I show charity to others, it is simply Jesus acting in me, and the more closely I am united to Him, the more dearly I love my sisters. If I wish to increase this love in my heart, and the devil tries to bring before me the defects of a sister, I hasten to look for her virtues, her good motives. I call to mind that though I may have seen her fall once, no doubt she has gained many victories over herself, which in her humility she conceals. It is even possible that what seems to me a fault may very likely, on account of her good intention, be an act of virtue. I have no difficulty in persuading myself of this, because I have had the same experience. One day, during recreation, the portress came to ask for a sister to help her. I had a childish longing to do this work, and it happened the choice fell upon me. I therefore began to fold up our needlework, but so slowly that my neighbor, who I knew would like to take my place, was ready before me. The sister who had asked for help, seeing how deliberate I was, said laughingly, "I thought you would not add this pearl to your crown. You are so extremely slow." And all the community thought I had yielded to natural reluctance. I cannot tell you what profit I derived from this incident, and it made me indulgent towards others. It still checks any feelings of vanity, when I am praised, for I reflect that since my small acts of virtue can be mistaken for imperfections, why should not my imperfections be mistaken for virtue? And I say with St. Paul, "To me it is a very small thing to be judged by you, or by man's day. But neither do I judge myself. He that judgeth me is the Lord." 1 Corinthians 4:3, 4. And it is the Lord, it is Jesus who is my judge. Therefore I will try always to think leniently of others, that He may judge me leniently, or rather not at all, since He says, "Judge not, and ye shall not be judged." Luke 6:37. But returning to the Holy Gospel, where our Lord explains to me clearly in what His new commandment consists, I read in St. Matthew, "You have heard that it hath been said, Thou shalt love thy neighbor, and hate thy enemy. But I say unto you, love your enemies, and pray for them that persecute you." Matthew 5:43, 44. There are, of course, no enemies in the Carmel, but, after all, we have our natural likes and dislikes. We may feel drawn towards one sister, and may be tempted to go a long way round to avoid meeting another. Well, our Lord tells me that this is the sister to love and pray for, even though her behaviour may make me imagine she does not care for me. If you love them that love you, what thanks are to you? For sinners also love those who love them. Luke 6:32. And it is not enough to love, we must prove our love. Naturally one likes to please a friend, but that is not charity, for sinners do the same. Our Lord also taught me, "Give to every one that asketh thee, and of him that taketh away thy goods, ask them not again." Luke 6:30. To give to everyone who asks is not so pleasant as to give of one's own accord. If we are asked pleasantly, it is easy to give, but if we are asked discourteously, then, unless we are in perfect charity, there is an inward rebellion, and we find no end of excuses for refusing. Perhaps, after first pointing out the rudeness of the request, we make such a favour of consenting thereto, that the slight service takes far less time to perform than was lost